Now let's cover the last piece of this puzzle, which is how to disable or how to lock an account without actually deleting it. Let's say you have someone who's going on an extended vacation or taking a leave of absence. You want them to use their account when they get back, but you also know that for every account that exists on a system, there is a chance that someone could break into that account. Since this person is going to be away for a long time, no one may actually notice if the account is being used by someone who should not have access to it. So let's say you decide to go ahead and lock that account for security reasons. The best way to do this is to actually use the chage command or change age. Actually, you can think of it as the change age command. So let's look at the man page for this command. I'm going to page down here till we get to the -E option, and that's the option to expire an account. Here it says you can specify either a date or the number of days since January 1st, 1970. It also says to unexpire the account, use -1 or -1 or -1 for the argument to the -E options. So let's go ahead and try this out. So we have a user on the system called Woz. This user has a UID of 1008. If we change to this user, let's see if it's working here. Sure enough, it is. I created it with a password of pass123 in my particular system. It may not be that on your system, just something to keep in mind. Type exit here. Now I'm back to the Vagrant user. So let's expire this account. Now let's try to switch to the account. And sure enough, it says, hey, your account is expired. Please contact your system administrator. So as we learned from the man page, we can actually unlock this account with -E-1. So we'll do sudo change the age of the expiration to -1 on the account of Woz. Now let's see if we can log into this account. And sure enough, we can. And there's been one failed login attempt since we logged in while the account was locked. Let's get back out and go back to our Vagrant user. Some older methods of locking an account include using the -L option to password, something like this. Sudo password -L Woz, and then it says, hey, I've locked the account. And then to unlock it, you would use passwd-u against the account name. And sure enough, it says, hey, we've unlocked that user and you're good to go. Now, locking an account with a password command like this does not prevent a user authenticating with an SSH key. That's very important to know, especially since more and more we're using SSH keys as our primary method of authentication. So if you're using SSH keys at all, this is not going to do what you think it's going to do. So don't do it. Use chage instead. Another method is to set the shell to something that is actually not a shell or something that simply exits. To look at the available shells on a system, you can look at the etc shells file. So we'll do that, cat etc shells. And we'll see here sbin no login, user sbin no login. Those would, in theory, prevent someone from logging in. So let's do that now. We'll set the shell of the Woz user to be no login with the user mod command. -S is to specify the shell. We'll give it no login and we'll set that to Woz. I think I've covered enough in this lesson, so I'm not going to take another diversion and cover the user mod command. So if you want to learn more about how to change all the settings for an existing account, simply read the user mod man page. At first glance, you think that this might actually work because if you SSH in and you have no login set as your shell, you'll get immediately logged out of the system. It does work for interactive logins like I just described, but you can still do some things with SSH that don't require an interactive login or don't require a shell, such as port forwarding. So again, use the chage command with the -E0 option to actually disable the account. We spent a lot of time here at the command line today, so for fun, let's write a quick shell script that deletes a user account using some of what we've seen today. So let's go ahead and go into our shared folder of /vagrant. I'm going to call this particular script luserdemo12.sh. Goes without saying, we'll need a shebang. Let's give this a description. Since we're doing some system administrator type stuff, we want to make sure the user is executing the script with root privileges. We already know how to do this check. If the user ID is not equal to 0, that means they are not the root account. So let's give them a little message here. Let's redirect that to standard error and exit 1. Okay, let's just assume, which is not a good word by the way, assume the first argument is the user to delete. We'll keep this script simple here just for demonstration purposes. So we're just going to use a variable to represent the user. We'll call that user. We'll assign that $1. By the way, you could use $1 throughout the script. That would be acceptable. I just like to have a descriptive variable name. So now let's go ahead and delete the user. And let's make sure the user actually got deleted. And we can do that by checking the return code or exit status of the userdel command. And if it's anything but 0, we know it's bad news. So if we get past this if statement, that means the userdel command succeeded. And that means we can tell the user that the account was actually deleted. We can tell them which account was deleted, which they specified. And then if we make it to the end of the script, we exit with an exit status of 0 because we've had a normal completion. Okay, I'm going to run chmod here and make sure this is executable. And then let's execute it with root privileges and let's delete a user. Actually, let's look at the last user in the etsy password file on this particular system. It is more. So let's do this. Let's delete the account called more. Okay, it says the account more was deleted. We check it, sure enough, it's not there. Let's do something interesting like try to delete an account that doesn't exist. Okay, it says userdel user.json does not exist. That's actually an error message from the userdel command. And then our error message is displayed. The account JSON was not deleted. And that's because we checked for the exit status of the userdel command. Okay, let's wrap this up. In this particular lesson, you learned how to delete an account using the userdel command. If you want to remove the user's home directory, use the -r option to the userdel command. To find files on a system, use the find, locate, or ls commands. To create an archive of files, use the tar command.